According to Nigel Farage, Donald Trump and the incoming US administration in the White House is furious with Britain over this issue of the Chaigos Islands. Now, you may not fully understand what this is all about, but I will explain the whole thing to you if you just give me a couple of minutes. Hello everyone, this is Andre Walker. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. It's the best way to absolutely get all my videos whenever they are released. Okay. Diego Garcia and the Chaigos Islands. Nigel Farage raised this with Stephen Doughty, the Minister in the Foreign Office, this week. And it's something that he's got major concerns about, not least because the government in Mauritius that he agreed with have just lost the election and been removed from office. And the government in the United States of America that quote unquote agreed to this have also lost because obviously Kamala Harris was beaten by Donald Trump. Now, let me tell you something first and foremost. Mauritius is about as close to the Chaigos Islands as London is to Moscow, right? So this whole idea that these islanders are very, very concerned about what goes on in the Chaigos Islands is ludicrous. The Chaigos Islands a few years ago had a very small population and it was declining. And so the British, quite unfairly, moved all the population out. Some came to the UK, others moved to Mauritius, and then they built the US naval base of Diego Garcia. Now, in the deal that has been done by the British government, Mauritius will get the Chaigos Islands as long as it gives a 99-year lease to the United States of America for the base. Now, here is the critical point that is extremely important. I'm going to put a map up on this screen and I'm going to explain to you why Mauritius wants the Chaigos Islands so much. And the reason is very, very simple. Mauritius is a vassal state to China. And China has absolutely every mineral that you could possibly think of other than oil. And what it needs to do in order to invade Taiwan is it needs a good supply of oil. Because if there was an invasion of Taiwan, the way the United States of America would stop the Chinese would not be actually to invade Taiwan at all. What they would do is they would prevent oil being taken on tankers from the Persian Gulf through to China. Now, you can see that if you were to sail your ships past the Chaigos Islands, you would be in significant trouble. They are strategically located. They are the only islands strategically located that can stop the Chinese from shipping oil to Taiwan. Now, we've talked before about why President Xi of China has 2.5 million Muslims in concentration camps. They are Uyghurs, and Uyghurstan is a part of China where the Chinese want to put an oil pipeline through. So there will be an oil pipeline from the Middle East, but there will also be oil tankers. The other reason, by the way, that there has been so much move towards the green agenda recently is this. As I say, China has every mineral other than oil. If you stop using oil in your cars, petrol, gasoline, if you're American, and instead have a cobalt battery, that means that the power over your infrastructure moves from the Middle East to China. Also, what it means is that China can consume more of the oil that we're no longer consuming. So because the green agenda, the price of oil has reduced for the Chinese, and the Chinese are able to take it. The Middle East, by the way, produces more oil now than when the green agenda began, and that is, of course, in order to assist with China. So if you are buying an electric car this year or next year, believe me, you have been thoroughly mugged off by the Chinese. That's why, incidentally, they want more steel production in China as well. So this giving of the Chaigos Islands to Mauritius, in practice, is handing the US naval base at Diego Garcia to China, which opens up China's ability to keep that oil shipped during a war with Taiwan. So I would suggest to you that that fat wanker David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, has brought war even closer. World War III is just around the corner, and he has made it significantly worse. Now, let me tell you, not one single Mauritian lives in the Chaigos Islands. And I will tell you something, none of them have been there for years. Also, the demand for the Chaigos Islands did not exist until China began to lean on Mauritius. And the idea that many of these people from the Chaigos Islands are going to move back is for the birds. You know, the residential population of the Chaigos Islands is basically the British governor. There is nobody else there. Now I'll tell you something else, and you can see this on the map. The largest naval base in the world is being built in Pakistan. That is near the Gulf of Oman. You don't think of it that way, but when you look at the map, you can see it. So, of course, that is to help the Chinese to counter the naval base at Diego Garcia in the eventuality of a war in Taiwan. Now, I've said to you before today that Donald Trump threatened to nuke Moscow. Some of you don't believe me. But okay, the reality is he believes in peace through strength. By threatening his opponents with his military firepower, Donald Trump can end wars. And I think that's probably right. But you hand a strategic victory over the ownership of the Chaigos Islands and the ownership of Diego Garcia to the Chinese, and it makes war much, much more likely. Now, Nigel Farage, and it's fair to say Priti Patel and Ian Duncan Smith, all told the Minister, Steve Doughty, that he should now renege on this deal, simply because the government in Mauritius he did deal with are gone. The government in the United States of America that he did deal with effectively are gone very soon when Donald Trump comes in. And this is a major strategic blunder which pushes Britain even further backwards in terms of our military strategic global importance. It's something that should never have been allowed to happen. And this whole suggestion about imperialism is just absolutely for the birds. As I say, the Mauritius is nowhere near the Chaigos Islands and Diego Garcia. We need to maintain our military strength. Donald Trump, remember, was the only US president really in modern history where no wars started under his watch. And that is simply because he is able to be strong in the face of his enemies. Remember what he did when he showed a picture to the head of the Taliban of his house? And he said, if you harm one single hair on one single head of one single American, I will missile strike your house. So yes, he was going to withdraw from Afghanistan, but of course he was going to do so with a degree of strength. Joe Biden did not show that strength. And the United Kingdom ought to be very, very careful. I've said this before. You know, I don't want to give away military secrets, but I think most of us know the worst kept British military secret of them all in terms of what's at Gibraltar. But remember, if you want to leave the Black Sea, if you're the Russian fleet, you have to go either through the Suez Canal or the Straits of Gibraltar, where British and American submarines can start to track you. And also, Diego Garcia is of significant strategic importance. We need to stand up for our countries. We need to stand up for our interests. And the idea that the Green Agenda, plus David Lammy, plus Mauritius, hand China the ability to invade Taiwan is a dreadful disaster for Britain, for America, for the world. The question was asked by Nigel Farage. We will see if that has any impact. But I have to say, I think there is a strong argument now for the United States of America effectively invading the Chaigos Islands. It won't be an invasion. All they'll do is just sit there and say, we're not giving it to Mauritius. That, I believe, would be the smart move. And I hope that Donald Trump will do it. Thanks so much for watching this video. Until next time, goodbye.